I wanted to make a video here demonstrating how to use the Lexington Kentucky GlobalTuner number 2. I'm starting off here on the main page at GlobalTuners.com. Of course, you do have to register for use of the site. It's totally free to use GlobalTuners. We do ask you to provide a email address when you register. Once your registration is complete and you have your logon ID and password and you log in, if you try to go to www.globaltuners.com, it will ask you for your login ID and password, and then it brings you to this page, which is the main page. And I'm going to click on online receivers here. And this page here, which is a list of the online receivers, you will see some receivers are indicated as being online. Those are online with one or more users. If it says free, the receiver is online and nobody is using it. So I'm going to click on Lexington Kentucky number 2, which brings us to the home page for that receiver with a lot of information, and then I'm going to click on Tune this receiver. And after a brief delay, we'll see the skin for that receiver. And I want to first of all scroll down here a little bit and show you some important information about the receiver. This particular receiver is an ICOM IC706. It says in here that it's a Mark II, but it is not. It's one of the early IC706s. The antenna farm for this receiver, for VHF, we have a disc cone in the attic, and for HF, the receiver uses one of 2 antennas. Most of the time it uses a sloping dipole with traps in it that's designed for the 160, 80, and 40 meter ham bands. If there are storms in the area, or there's a likelihood of storms, the antenna for HF will be a horizontal loop, which is under the eaves of the house here. There is a delay in the audio. So when something happens that on a frequency that you're listening to, there is a delay before you will actually hear the audio on your speakers or headphones. If the receiver controls are locked, or if there's somebody else using the receiver when you log in, there's a button that says "May I tune, please?" to request permission to tune. There's an S meter on the skin, but it is not supported with this receiver. That's a limitation of the communications protocol. So don't expect to see the S meter register anything as you listen to stations on the receiver. There are a large number of amateur radio transmitters around here at this site, and there are circumstances in which those transmitters may interfere with what you're listening to on the receiver. If you hear sort of a choppiness in the audio, the only way that I know of to resolve that problem is to reset the receiver. And so what you can do there is either contact a GlobalTuner sysop or open a support ticket, and someone will reset the receiver for you. I don't enforce any kind of time limit on your use of the receiver, but I do ask that you be courteous to other people that may log in and join you on the receiver. The first thing that you'll want to do when logging on to the receiver is start the audio by clicking up here where it says Audio Start. There's also a button that you can click to stop the audio. But it is important that you start the audio because it will not start on its own. Now I want to talk about setting the frequency on the receiver, the frequency that's the default and what comes up if you are the first one to log on to the receiver is a Lexington police frequency on VHF FM, but you can change the frequency to any of the frequencies that anything in the frequency ranges that are covered by the receiver. Because of the fact that this is an early IC706, there is no coverage whatsoever in the UHF range, so keep that in mind. If you're wanting to listen to a UHF frequency in the 440 or 450 or 460 megahertz range, you'll have to try that over on Lexington #1. The first way to enter a frequency is in this enter frequency box right here. Frequencies entered there are in megahertz, so if I want to listen to 162.4 megahertz, I just type in 162.4 and hit enter. And this is a NOAA weather radio frequency in this area, and that's indeed what we're hearing right now. I can also enter frequencies by means of this keypad here, and again that is in megahertz. So I enter the frequency and click set frequency, and the receiver changes to that. And the decimal point is used after I've entered the megahertz. There is also a tuning knob here with a couple of arrow buttons, as you see. These arrow buttons will move the frequency based upon the tuning step that you see right here. The default is a 1000 hertz or 1 kilohertz tuning step. So if I push the right button, the frequency goes up by the amount of the tuning step, and the left button it will go down by that amount. The tuning knob itself can also be turned clockwise or counterclockwise. Counterclockwise to go down and clockwise to go up. The tuning step here can be adjusted by clicking on Enter Tuning Step, and you can either choose one of these predefined steps, which are all in kilohertz. So I selected 5 kilohertz. Now when I click, the frequency moves by 5 kilohertz at the time, and of course that's the tuning step is now indicated as 5000 hertz or 5 kilohertz. You can also specify really any step size that you want here. For example, if I want 2 kilohertz, I can enter that in, type in 2 and hit enter, and now I have a 2 kilohertz step. There are bandwidth buttons over here for some of the modes. In the case of narrowband FM, which is common for VHF and UHF FM, such as police and other public service stuff, you will generally want medium. If I switch to wideband FM, for example, with which is what I would want for FM broadcast, wide is the only choice. In the case of lower sideband or upper sideband, wide is the only choice, and that's also true for CW. In the case of AM, I have a choice of medium and wide, and generally for listening to AM broadcast you will want to choose wide. You can, however, if you've got some interference nearby, choose medium, and that can reduce adjacent interference, but it also reduces the bandwidth of the audio that you'll be receiving. The mode buttons are over here. As you can see, AM, FM, single sideband, and CW are all supported. Be sure when you modify the receive frequency that you select the proper mode for what you're trying to do. So the default, as I mentioned, is to come up at this frequency here. If I want to go, for example, to a shortwave frequency, this particular one is a 40-meter amateur band. Note that it's still in narrowband FM, and you will want to change that to lower sideband, which is the sideband commonly used in this particular area of the amateur bands. These buttons here do not do anything on this receiver, and that's a communications limitation. There is an attenuator on the receiver, but the communications protocol doesn't allow us to change it. Same thing with AGC. The AGC on this receiver is set for slow AGC, which is typically best for listening to voice signals. And also the noise blanker cannot be controlled from GlobalTuners. I've chosen to leave the noise blanker off because sometimes having it on causes more problems than the noise itself. The squelch control over here is not used. The squelch is set for a pretty normal value on the receiver. You notice we were listening to FM and had no problems with squelch. Similarly, on the shortwave bands, the squelch does not get in our way here. There is a balance control. If you have stereo speakers on your computer, you can adjust the balance control, and you can adjust this volume control here if you prefer to do that rather than adjusting the volume controls on your computer. If somebody else logs in, you can click this button to advise them that they're free. They should feel free to tune. You can also press this button to decline permission to tune. However, I much prefer that if somebody comes on and requests to tune, that you grant that permission and give them the opportunity to use the receiver as well. Back over here on the right, there's a button labeled ham bands, which removes the numeric keypad and gives you a button for each of the amateur bands. So this makes it much easier to navigate around the various amateur bands. One nice thing about this as well is that it will select upper sideband or lower sideband depending upon what's the normal convention for that particular band. And by clicking on numpad, the numeric pad is restored. Clicking the user logs button allows you to enter some information in the user logs that are maintained here on the receiver. Gives room for some type of an ID, call sign, or whatever, and then comments about that. Scrolling down once again here, want to point out some things to you. There are band guides for the receiver that I have set up. If you click on band guides, you'll have to click this this down arrow here to expand it, and you'll see the various categories that I have set up. For example, AM broadcast gives you a number of stations that potentially are listenable in the area, and we can click on the if you see something that interests you, you just click on tune over here, and it will set up that frequency in that mode. You may, as I say, wish to increase the bandwidth. And if you select something from the receiver band guide, you always want to check and make sure that the mode and the bandwidth are set up the way that you would like to have them be. Ordinarily, they will set themselves up automatically, but that may or may not always be the case. We also have access to a global frequency database here. by clicking on Global Frequency DB, and then you can search for various things. I'm going to type in Lexington and click on search, and the Global Frequency database will give us whatever it has for Lexington. And then as with the band guides, we've got tune buttons here, so I can click on tune, and the receiver will go to that frequency. I want to talk about these gray areas here. First of all, on the lower right is the list of users, and so whoever, if there is more than one user here, you will see them listed here. Above that is the global chat, which is a chat room for anybody that's logged on to any GlobalTuner anywhere. So please feel free to exchange information with your fellow GlobalTuners users, and or ask questions there, as somebody may be able to help you. On the lower left, we have another place where you can gain access to the band guides and also the user loggings as well. You can see what other users have logged of things that they have heard here on this particular receiver. And then the upper left here is the local chat. This allows you to chat with other people that are logged on to this receiver with you. You also notice that anytime that some action is taken on the receiver, that it's confirmed here in the local chat. That's always a good idea, to make sure that whatever that you tried to do did indeed happen. And in case that, if you accidentally clicked but the click didn't actually take, you can verify that what you wanted to do actually happened. So that's a look at Lexington Kentucky GlobalTuner number 2. I hope this helps, and I hope you'll stop by and listen sometime.